Ah. Well, hello and welcome to this Tuesday's Movie News. I am John Walsh. I'm here to speak about movie news, guys. And as you can see, if you've clicked on the thumbnail, if you've clicked on the video, you'll see what the headline is. It's all about No Time to Die, James Bond. The great sort of dilemma over James Bond, the final incarnation of Daniel Craig's tenure as James Bond, not Jane Bond. Is it going to release? Is it not going to release? Will it be hitting a streaming service? Will it be hitting theatres? I've been speaking about this movie, it feels like forever. Well, if you're to believe some no-mark on Twitter, then it may very well be getting a theatre release, and not just a theatre release. I do apologise, I'm having to duck out the way of the camera there. But it may be an early theatre release over here in the United Kingdom. This is coming in from Screen Rant, my all-time favourite movie news website that I just love to keep getting back to again and again and again. And as you can see here, they are suggesting that Daniel Craig's very last appearance as James 007, shaken not stirred Bond, could be hitting theatres in the United Kingdom of Great Britain on the 30th of September 2021. Now, this is coming in from a hugely renowned figure, Tom Lenny. This guy's clearly got his finger on the pulse, and Screen Rant have seen this tweet. Clearly a slow news day, not clearly a slow news day, absolutely a slow news day, as I found out when I was trying to find news to speak about on this show. And they've went with this guy's tweet, and they've just believing this guy and saying that yes, it's coming out on the 30th of September 2021. Now, do I think this is a possibility? That's the first thing I'm going to get into before the intro plays again. I absolutely do think it's a possibility. I don't quite trust the authenticity or the credentials of Tom Lenny, or whatever his name is, but I do believe this is a possibility that this movie will come out in theatres round about that late summer, early autumn period. Because to be quite frank, if you've not been living under a rock in the last week, then you will realise that theatres are opening up again in New York City, and it's looking very likely that life will be getting back to a degree of normality here in the United Kingdom over the course of the next 3 or 4 months. And that just bodes well for a big blockbuster release like No Time to Die hitting theatres. It looks as though it could be the perfect slot for this movie, that late September slot. We will be back to some normality. We ain't hitting winter again, so we no worries about this stupid COVID shit rearing its head again. Vaccines will have kicked in. Hopefully the vast majority of people will have took them, and we can get back to watching movies in theatres again and start off with a bang, man. Well, hopefully we start off with Godzilla v Kong and things like that in July and June and stuff like that, but it will really kick into action. Bums on seats again. Hopefully normality resuming once again for the release of No Time to Die on September 30th. So yes, I do believe that Tom Lenny, credentials aside, may have his finger on the pulse here. I think this movie will hit theatres early, and I think it will be an absolute huge hit for Daniel Craig, for Barbara Broccoli, for MGM, for Bond itself, and we can finally move on to speaking about the next James Bond, be it Richard Madden, Henry Golding, whoever you want to pick, Sam Heughan, Idris Elba. The list is endless. We can finally get off the sort of anticipation train for No Time to Die and move on to the anticipation train of the next James Bond. But look, I'm not just speaking about James Bond. I did fling in Dune, everyone's favourite sci-fi, up-and-coming sci-fi movie from the great Denis Villeneuve. Purely because it's a sort of joint bit of news that's been coming out over the last day or so. And I did speak about this before, and I'm kind of taking the piss a little bit here. I did speak about this before, and I mentioned that it was getting an early release over here in the United Kingdom. It hadn't been confirmed, not just the United Kingdom, but international territories, because of course, if you've been having your finger on the pulse in the last 3, 4, 5 months, you'll realise the HBO Max joint release for the United States, these big blockbuster releases from Warner Brothers, releasing concurrently on the streaming service in the States, whilst also being in the theatres on the same day. That is only in the North American territory. Everywhere else that doesn't have HBO Max, they don't get that concurrent release. So we were getting a little carrot dangled in front of us of a new sort of release slot for the international territories, and that release slot being 2 weeks early. And as you can see here, as we inch closer to June's release date, looks like there could be good news for fans outside of the States, and that's me. I'm outside of the States. And yeah, a series of tweets in a sense coming from Box Office Pro France. Have says this, they have says, Warner Brothers France date to lay Western. Those who wish me dead, they Taylor Sheridan. I can't speak French, I prefer German, I have to say. And they're saying, yep, 15th of the 5th, 21, June, 29th of August, 2021. That's about 2 weeks earlier, I do believe, than the United States release slot. I may be wrong. I may be well wrong here. That is August. That's September, John. That's September. It's 29 or. Again, it's French. I'm not French. You must pardon my ignorance. I'm not really clued up in the French language. 15th of September 2021. That is early. Yeah, that's a couple of weeks early. And it looks as though it's hitting that very same date, 1 day later in Australia. And indeed, it's going to be a similar date over here in the United Kingdom. I think it's the 17th of September. It's set to release in the theatres and on the streaming service in the United States on the 1st of October. That's just about 2 weeks early, as I did say. So I didn't have to go through all of that shit reading that article. I could have just come right out and said it's 2 weeks early. And it seems to have been confirmed. That's not even English. It seems to have been confirmed. I'll try and reroute that in my brain there and make sense of it. Via this box office outlet over in France, and it looks as though we are getting it early. So this is great news. And once again, just like all the stuff I said for James Bond, No Time to Die, I think it's also equally as prescient for the June release. We will be back to a degree of normality by the end of this year. It's looking as though we will have everything opened up by the end of the year. The theatres will be opened up by the end of the year. This long sort of vacuous period of the last year or so, and I'm not getting bums in seats, limited bums when they could get them on seats, limited eyeballs on the screens, could be coming to an end. And we could be having a renaissance of theatre-going experiences, theatre-released movies. No more streaming services in the main. No more sitting in your house bored out of your absolute TITS and watching shit movies. We can be watching Dune. We can be watching No Time to Die in a theatre. And I am sincerely praying that they do come out early here, that we do get to feast our eyes upon these movies early, and it's in a theatre, and we've got no more COVID shit, and we've got no more of these COVID celebrities that have bumped up, these clinical directors and so-called scientists. Hopefully their 15 minutes of fame disappears and we can start watching the real fame and these actors in these movies. But look, let's move on, man. Let's get off the political soapbox and not speak about Jason Leitch, a nasally-nosed bitch that's over here who seems to be basking in the misery of thousands and millions of people. Let's go on and speak about the misery of Wanda Maximoff in the WandaVision series, and whether the Agatha Harkness character is indeed the very best villain that this TV show deserves and perhaps needs. And I'll get into it in a moment. It's coming in from Screen Rant again. And they've says that she is indeed a better real villain than Mephisto. Now, anyone who has been a fan of Marvel, be it the comics, be it the movies, be it in general, will have a semi-awareness of Mephisto, who is the sort of devil of the Marvel universe, the comic universe, and indeed the cinematic universe. Now, he would be a very big villain to be rearing his ugly head in a TV show, the very first TV show connected to Marvel. It would be a little bit overkill to bring in this guy to take on, albeit a very powerful character in Scarlet Witch, albeit a very powerful dynamic duo in Scarlet Witch and Vision. It would be a little bit overkill though, that aside. So I do kind of find myself agreeing with this article that Agatha Harkness could be the real, it being WandaVision's real villain, could be a better scenario than having Mephisto or Nightmare. Now, I'm not going to bomb everyone to tears, and myself included, by reading through this entire article, but in a sense, what they're saying is that it is a better fit because she is a witch herself. She is of a similar standing, maybe not, to Scarlet Witch. Scarlet's very powerful. I think she will slap her about like an empty tracksuit, come what may, in the next couple of episodes. But she's certainly a more scaled villain than a Mephisto, the devil of the Marvel universe, or a Nightmare, a guy who can have his way with characters, and who is going to be the villain in the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness movie. I find myself agreeing with it, and the reason I find myself agreeing with it too is because it would be overkill to have this big bad character hiding in the shadows, playing everyone like a puppet master, the likes of Pietro, or that bastardised Evan Peters version of Pietro, Agatha Harkness, Vision, Wanda, everyone within this hex, whatever it's called, force field, alternate reality. It'd be a little bit overkill, and you'd need to have pretty much the entire Avengers coming in to save the day, and I don't think that's possible. I don't think they've got that kind of budget to pay the likes of Jeremy Renner and Chris Hemsworth and stuff like that, the big spondulics, to come in to a TV show and save the day at the end. That would be required for a Nightmare. It would be required for a Mephisto. It's not required for an Agatha Harkness, and that's why I think we'll ultimately see maybe a little collaborative effort between the likes of Monica Rambeau, Vision, maybe even Darcy, and ultimately Dr. Stephen Strange coming in. We know we're getting another mysterious character coming in at the end. She's a better skilled villain for that. Her manipulating Pietro, them as a dynamic villainous duo, perhaps fare off better against what I've just mentioned than a Mephisto. He would slap them about. It'd be overkill. It wouldn't work. It'd take you out of it, I think, as well. That's ultimately why I am on board now, after having sort of let myself bask in the glory of that last episode. And it wasn't that glorious, I have to say. The other ones were better. But having let it sit into me and really think it over, and that's why I love the episodic format of these new TV shows on Disney Plus as well. You can't just binge it and forget about it. You actually think about it until the next episode. I have now thought about it, and I think Agatha is a better villain than perhaps Mephisto or Nightmare. We'll save that for more grandiose settings, I'm sure, when we get into it. And as they did say, the final thing I will say about it, it sets up a new era of storytelling for Phase 4 and 5. This more celestial, if you like, magic-y future for the MCU. We know she's going to attain and use that Scarlet Witch title finally. It's not just going to be Wanda. We could see Agatha being a mainstay as a sort of thorn in the side coming through into the actual expanded universe. We could see more. We know we're getting vampires, crazy shit happening in the MCU. So I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm looking forward to seeing how things are going to blow out in this TV show. If she is the big bad, I think she is, and who this mysterious character is going to be, I have got my money firmly betted on one Magneto. I think he's coming in. It just all marries. I watched Paul Bettany's interview. He says it's an actor he's longed to star alongside for many years. He's not starred with him before. Magneto, for me, Ian McKellen. Who doesn't want to star alongside Ian McKellen? If it is Ian McKellen, it could be Michael Fassbender. But look, let's get off the tangents and move on to the very next topic. It's all about the sort of jewel of the Indian South, or Southern Indian cinema. It's Vijay Talapathy. Joseph Talapathy, Vijay, if I should say, not Vijay Talapathy. And his very next, well, it's not his next project, his next project. Incidentally, I'm going to get off my chest right away. I love the fact that this guy has such a following, such a sort of, I don't know, mysticism surrounding him. He's such a big name over in India that his next movies don't even get working titles. They don't get other people put in to the titles. It's just Telepathy 66, Telepathy 64, Telepathy 65. It's his next movie with the sort of numerical chronological order of where that movie sort of lies in the title. I love that. And Telepathy 66, not yet in the works. He's putting these feelers out. As you can see, this is coming in from the Indian Times of India. Indian Times. And they're speaking about the Telepathy 66 movie, the next project. Well, his next one's 65. He's working with somebody. They mention it in the article there. You can see he's working on it just now. But 66, he's putting the feelers out. He's looking to get a producer in. As you can see here, I think they say the producer he is looking to score. I do believe it's in this article. It may have been the other one. I have two. Atlee. He's feeling out for Atlee to produce the next movie. He's got a number of different director potential names in the sort of bag, the metaphorical bag, and one of them is Lokesh Kanagaraj, and that is why I've pondered in that little thing there. As you can see, Master Duel to reunite for Telepathy 66 question mark. I say question mark because it's all up in the air just now, but I tell you what, I sincerely want them to reunite again because I love Lokesh Kanagaraj. I've only seen one of his movies, but I tell you what, I've reacted to two other. And Kaifi, I'm going to watch this movie in the next week. I'll get it to Stephen, he will watch it as well. It looked amazing, man. I love this concept of this guy getting home, trying to get to his family. He's got all this sort of shit happening. It looked violent at points. It looked really cool as a story. Even the sort of cinematic style, it looked like a really cool little film indeed. And then, of course, Vikram. We reacted to Vikram fairly recently as well, and that looked brilliant too. It was a short little teaser. They were just sitting at a table, getting ready to tuck into some delicious looking food. Just the dynamic of these guys, this uneasy truce. And then you see violence erupting briefly at the end. That's Lokesh Kanagaraj. Master, we watched, reacted, reviewed. It was magic. VJ was stupendous in it. Lokesh Kanagaraj got some amazing performances. I'm trying to remember the little guy's name just now. Arjun Das, I think it is. He was stupendous too. Fiji Sethupathi was brilliant. So I've seen a glimpse into what this guy's capable of doing in terms of directing. Performances from VJ as well. And as you can see here, we've got a series of photographs of the bold VJ on this website from Pink Villa. You get an insight into the relationship between Lokesh and Joseph Telepathy VJ. And it looks close. It looks like great chemistry. They're laughing. Smiles aplenty. They look like a great partnership behind the camera. And that really did sort of manifest itself in the Master performance in the movie. It was a good feeling movie. It had really uplifting dance numbers, songs. I've still got Cootie Story stuck in my head. Palavida, problems will come and go, always be happy. Love it. Loved what he done with Telepathy, and I absolutely want to see these two collaborating again in this 66th, I can never say that, 66th, the 6th sense. I want to see them working together on his 66th movie. I still can't see it. And hopefully it happens. There is a number of names in there. Hopefully Lokesh gets the nod and we can see this dynamic duo working together once again. I'm looking to get down the rabbit hole with Telepathy. I'm going to watch a lot of his movies and I'm looking forward to his future projects as well, including 65, which we'll get into I'm sure at some point when more details make themselves known. But look, let's move on to a topic which I have not got an absolute clue about. I was looking to do some research into Blue Beetle. Sadly, I put this show together very, very late. It's 4 minutes to 12 AM. Late as hell. I didn't have time to research Blue Beetle. But he's getting a movie. And it's a new DC movie. And it's got a director. And the director is going to be the Charm City Kings director. That is Angel Manuel Soto. This looks like a very interesting project, man. I love the look of this character. He's a beetle. He's blue. It's in the name. He's got glowing gold eyes. What more do you want in life, man? Now, I have said time and again, me and Stephen have said time and again as a sort of duo on this platform, that whilst we are huge fans of comic book movies, comics in general, we have not got a clue when it comes to the actual comic history. I am overwhelmed by the comics. I have tipped my toes in some Superman, Spider-Man ones, Star Wars ones, Walking Dead, outside of the sort of comic verse. There's just too much going on. I've not got a clue where to start. There's 80 years of comics. It blows my mind. So I ain't got a clue about this character. But I tell you what, just based on visuals alone, based on the inclusiveness and what it's promoting in terms of the story, the character, it's a Latino superhero. He comes from Mexico. I'll say Mexico, not Mexico, Mexico. And it is a Latino director. And it's an all Latino sort of producing, writing crew. That is, just from a sort of representation standpoint, very, very nice to hear. Just like Black Panther was with the likes of Ryan Coogler, Michael B. Jordan, Danai Guerrera, I think Lupita Nyong'o was in there as well, Daniel Kaluuya, Winston Duke, the list is endless, Chadwick Boseman, man. Having that all-black cast with the two token sort of white guys in Andy Serkis and Martin Freeman, and if you're going to have token white guys, you pick them because they're really cool dudes. That was uplifting for the black community. It became a zeitgeist moment for the black community. It became a zeitgeist moment for me watching the movie. I loved it. How can I forget Michael B. Jordan, incidentally? He was like the star in that alongside Chadwick, man. What that done for that community, I'm hoping that this Blue Beetle movie will do for the Latino community. It will inspire a new generation of people from Latin America to come up and be filmmakers, be actors. They see themselves represented on the screen. They see it's possible. And it inspires them, man. I'm not going to go too far into the actual story, but I'll read the actual quote from the director because I think that's quite nice to do. The guys gave us a quote, so let's read it. It's an honour to direct Blue Beetle, the first Latino superhero film for DC. I want to sincerely thank everyone at Warner Brothers and DC for trusting me to bring Jamie Reyes to life. I can't wait to make history together. Incidentally, really fascinating history for the actual character too. It was once a Fox Comics character, I do believe. It was bought over 40 years ago by DC. It was assimilated into the DC comic universe, and now it's getting a movie. So it's really inspiring, man, for that whole community. And it's just going to be so interesting to once again see a new superhero character. It's not something you see every day, man. A new character getting brought in. The last time I was truly shocked by a superhero character, and perhaps just ensemble, would be Ant-Man and Guardians of the Galaxy. That was the last time I was caught off guard by, what the hell is this? I don't know this character. I cannot wait to see it. I watched it and I loved it. This is similar. Hopefully it's a very similar setup. Shazam too, man. I told you I'm not a huge sort of knowledgeable person in comics, so when I seen Shazam and the sort of comedic heavy sort of feel tone that it had off it, distinctly different to any other DC movie at that time, that was a really unique experience too, and I love that. But look, speaking about unique experiences, I'm going to move on swiftly here to the fifth and penultimate topic on the show. It's all about one of my all-time favourite directors, man. Absolutely love this guy. He's just got a vibe to him, a style to him that is unique. You watch his movies, right away you say that's a Guy Ritchie movie. And this guy is going to be directing a very, very interesting World War II project. So it's sort of two of my favourite things, Guy Ritchie and World War II, colliding together. It's called Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. I nearly screwed that up there. I'll say that one more time. Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. He is set to direct this movie. I briefly looked into the history of this. It is absolutely fascinating, man. They say there on Empire, he's tackled gangsters, detectives, spies, magic, myths, a shit. What was it called again? King Arthur movie. It was okay. Charlie Hunnam, didn't it? It had Eric Bana as well, and David Beckham. What more do you want in life? It wasn't that bad, but it wasn't great. It wasn't Guy Ritchie prime, that one. But Guy Ritchie has a new genre in mind. He's on to write and direct World War II story, Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare for Paramount. And in a sense, as you can see there, what it's about, it's all based off of this book, The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, how Churchill's secret warriors set Europe ablaze and gave birth to modern black ops. It's a very interesting concept. It was the very first sort of special operative sort of soldiers, World War II, going behind the sort of enemy lines and completing all sorts of stealth missions and not really acting within the morals of the war, the sort of rules. They were just completely throwing them out the window and wreaking utter chaos upon the Germans. This sounds like Inglourious Bastards meets sort of Fury, meets Guy Ritchie. I cannot wait to see this guy, the take he's going to have on this, who he's going to cast in this is going to make or break it, obviously, as it always does for a movie, but it's Guy Ritchie. This guy could inspire most actors to come onto a project. So the concept's there. It's World War II. It's 1939 by all accounts. The British forces are getting absolutely pounded by the Germans. Churchill wants to hit back. He sends these group of soldiers in. They form a really close sort of fraternity brothership, and they start just wrecking utter hell upon the Germans, and it lasts all through the war. So this is such an interesting concept. I've said it time and time again. The one thing I love about World War II is that it just breeds a whole variety of very different kind of movies, scales of movies. You've got Saving Private Ryan, all the way down to sort of Sophie Shaw, to Land of Mine, I think it was, the Danish movie. It was amazing. All the way up to, I don't know, try to think of another World War II movie. Downfall, all of this crazy shit. You've got different kinds of stories, personal, introspective stories, the Pianist. And then you've got big bloody conflict sort of stories. You've got fantasy stories like the Fury movie that I loved with Shia LaBeouf and that little guy, Logan Lerman was it, and Brad Pitt with that magnificent hairdo. You can just do anything with this. And the fact this is sort of steeped, and I believe I'm hoping it's steeped in realism. I hope this is actually based on a real story. I hope it's not fantasy, but even if it is fantasy, I don't really give a shit. You can just work magic with the World War II genre. It just breeds so many interesting films and stories and all of the little personal experiences that were spawned out of it. I cannot wait to watch this, man. I cannot wait for this to come together. He's working with Jason Statham, of course, on Five Eyes. That's his next project. It's a spy thriller. But when this comes, man, when all of the pieces start coming together for this movie, I'm going to be absolutely revelling in it, man. And I cannot wait to see who the hell he casts in it. But look, let's move on to the fucking, what, 6th topic it is now. Ending a Debbie Downer, as we like to say here. That's not it, incidentally. That is not. Nope, not that either. I think I've screwed it. You know that? Nope, it's not actually Kuma. Bear with me, 2 seconds. I'll actually just get this little graphic up, because I'm an anal little shit, and I want to make sure that I've got the graphic up. So just bear with me here. Thank you very much. And we'll see if this is it. Is it it? Nope, it's not. We'll still get Akshay Kumar. Doesn't even matter. It's that much of a non-event. I'll not even put a graphic up down the bottom. So about Daisy Ridley. I can't speak tonight. I cannot speak. Daisy Ridley is not ruling out a return to Star Wars. This is what she's had to say. Big long quote. This is quite a stark change in sort of mood music for Daisy, because I do recall about a year ago she was saying, I'm not coming back to Star Wars. I'm done with Star Wars. I'm too good for Star Wars. Now she's dried up in work. Realises that she's not so great an actor. She's not a Boyega, an Isaac, a Driver. Just about anybody that worked on those movies, even a Kelly Marie Tran. She's realising that she's found her place in Hollywood, and it's not A-list movies. She's now coming back with her tail between her legs, open to a return to Star Wars. She said this, I mean, never say never. I'm always open to a revisit. Didn't say that a year ago, Daisy. But also the beautiful thing is, it's this wonderful, huge universe with all these stories that have yet to be told. I think there's a lot of cool things to be made before any potential revisit. In terms of revisiting the character, I think that's a bye-bye for now. Well, I tell you what, Daisy, if it was up to me, it would be a bye-bye forever, because the character is shit. It went on no journey. It had no real heroic arc. It wasn't a Luke Skywalker. It wasn't even a tragic hero like Darth Vader, who hit ground bottom and then get right back up and redeemed himself at the end by killing the sort of arch nemesis of the galaxy, Emperor Sheev Palpatine. The character never really done anything. It was good at everything. I was willing to sympathise with the character after Force Awakens because of where it came from, Jakku, this loneliness arc, but then they took the character off in The Last Jedi, Rise of the Skywalker, and it was ultimately shit. It didn't evolve, it was poor, and at the end it even assumed Skywalker's name, and that's not how the Force works. That's not how Star Wars works. You don't assume names. You're either a Skywalker or you're not a Skywalker. She was a Palpatine, she says she was a Skywalker. That was shit. I don't want to see this character back. I want these movies retconned out of the Star Wars existence. And she's right in some level though when she says that there's more stories to be told, more interesting places and characters to visit, and they ain't Rey. So I want to see us getting off and doing new characters, new stories, new timelines, and not going back to the Skywalker saga. There's no Skywalkers left. Not going back to Rey, the all-powerful. Just leave it in the dustbin of history and move on, and get Kathleen Kennedy out of Lucasfilm as well. Get Jon Favreau in there. Get some other interesting faces in there. Make Star Wars great again, to quote a tango, racist, misogynistic shithead of an ex-president. Make it great again. And I'll be back. I'll be back anyway, man. I'm a big Star Wars fan. I'm not kidding. If they brought a Rey film out, I'd fucking probably be the first one in the theatres. I'm absolutely kidding myself on. But look, man, that's going to round the show up. What is your thoughts on the array of topics that I touched upon on the show tonight? What do you make about No Time to Die and Dune, set to get an early release in international markets? What do you make about it? Do you want to see James Bond hitting the theatres on the 30th of September? I do believe you want to see Dune hitting the theatres on the 17th of September as well. Is it 17th of September? I'm losing the plot now. I think it was. What a week that would, 2 weeks that would be, if Dune and No Time to Die came out within 2 weeks of themselves. Jesus Christ, I think I'd spontaneously combust with joy. Is that something you'd be happy to see? What do you make about the Agatha Harkness villain? Is that something that's just right for WandaVision? Do you want to see a bigger villain like Mephisto or Nightmare popping up and maybe overshadowing Agatha Harkness? What do you make about VJ Telepathy? I keep saying VJ Telepathy. Joseph Telepathy VJ. I'll give him his full sort of Sunday name. What do you make about his 66th project? Do you want to see him starring with Lokesh Kanagaraj? Again, what do you make about any of the other topics? You can comment down below if you've got anything to say. You can also like the video if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Hit the follow button on Twitch if you want to see more content like this in the future. And if you do, that's what you'll get, guys. But look, man, I'm going to bid you farewell. I ain't got much more to say. I've been speaking for a hell of a long time, over 30 minutes. I'm absolutely exhausted. I'm going to say, but I'm not exhausted, but bye anyway.